Once upon a time, a gorilla of great renown entered the third dimension. I, like many others, was blown away by this technical spectacle of gorillas and fruit and jumping and crocodiles and the like. However, DK and his friends would not return to the third dimension in the intervening years. I waited. Days became months, months became years, years became decades. I thought all hope was lost. Until April 2025, when my patience was finally rewarded.
Next is our last trailer for today.
Ooh, last game.
Take a look.
Last game. What could it be? What could it be? Hey, switch to. Wait, what is this? This looks kind of new. Is this like a platformer or something? Have snow. Bananas. Bananas. What does that mean? Ingot Isle. Maybe this is like a new game, like entirely. Okay. Whoa! Is that who I think it is? Is that who I think it is? Oh my god! It's him! Well, folks, it's here. It's finally here. After almost 2.5 decades, we finally have a new 3D platforming Donkey Kong game, Donkey Kong Bananza. And many of you might be wondering what I thought about this new foray into the DK franchise. Well, like Frank Castle in that one episode of The Punisher.
I like it! Hell, I love it!
Why, you may ask? Isn't Donkey Kong Bananza just Super Mario Odyssey in a gorilla costume? No! It's so much more than that. You see, Donkey Kong Bananza started around the time that the Switch first came out, after Nintendo EPD production group number 8 wrapped Super Mario Odyssey. Yoshiaki Koizumi, EPD's senior general manager, would approach the team with making a new 3D Donkey Kong game. And it's crazy that Koizumi actually stepped back and wanted to support Donkey Kong. We haven't seen this much love for the Donkey Kong franchise in quite some time. With an eye to expanding the Donkey Kong franchise further, I'd like the team that's been working on 3D Mario games to create a 3D Donkey Kong game. However, this would be the first time Nintendo would work on a Donkey Kong game since Jungle Beat came out back in 2003. Kazuya Takahashi, who was a recent hire for EPD and had experience in the games industry, having worked for Sega and Square Enix, as well as Super Mario Odyssey's programmer, Wataru Tanaka, were assigned as directors for this new Donkey Kong game. And while many of the people on EPD production team number 8 were really big Donkey Kong fans, they didn't want to just stick to convention. Much like what Rare did with the Donkey Kong franchise initially, they wanted the game to be bigger and bolder. They started experimenting with voxel technology, something that they used a little bit in Super Mario Odyssey. Seeing that they could use this new technology to emphasize Donkey Kong's strength, almost everything in Donkey Kong Bananza is comprised of voxels, making the core of the gameplay comprised of grabbing, tearing up, molding, and throwing terrain. And while the Mario games focused on upward mobility, Donkey Kong Bonanza's new mechanics lend themselves more towards going down, leading to levels going down under the earth to the core of the planet. On top of these more technological and mechanical improvements to the game, the team also sought to bridge the entire Donkey Kong franchise together while incorporating new characters as well. Donkey Kong's design got, well, redesigned. The team wanted to combine the more expressive and friendly look of Shigeru Miyamoto's design with Kev Bayless's cooler, more suave look for Donkey Kong. To that end, I think they were successful. I think they solved a long-standing issue of Donkey Kong acting like a goofball while not looking dead serious all the time. Additionally, they brought back a lot of other characters. Diddy, Dixie, Cranky, Rambi, and Squawks all appear as NPCs in Bonanza. Not only that, we're forgetting our companion for this journey towards the core, Pauline, a now 13-year-old girl with a powerful singing voice. A character addition that caused, and continues to cause, a lot of contention among DK fans. Does this mean that Bonanza is a prequel to the original Donkey Kong arcade game? Or a prequel to Super Mario Odyssey? Is Cranky not the original Donkey Kong? What does this mean for the greater Donkey Kong timeline? It doesn't matter. I hardly think that the folks at EPD were actively concerned with the continuity or keeping things lore accurate in the Donkey Kong franchise. They just wanted to incorporate different elements and characters from Donkey Kong's past games into one game. But you got these nerds over here having brain aneurysms, doing mental gymnastics, trying to suss out DK's lore, when, really folks, when has it ever really mattered? Nintendo has always prioritized fun, interesting mechanics over the story. Okay? That's that. I refuse to engage in this banal topic any further. But what about the game itself? Donkey Kong Bonanza starts with DK going to Ingot Isle in search of Bonandium gems. However, in the process, he falls down a massive sinkhole produced by Voidco, a mining company headed by Void Kong. Void Kong and his cronies, Poppy and Grumpy Kong, are interested in reaching the planet core, which holds the Bonandium root, a powerful plant that grants wishes. DK soon finds Pauline, who is trapped by Voidco, who wanted to exploit her singing abilities to reach the planet core. However, being that Pauline doesn't want Void Kong to get to the root, and really just wants to go home, she teams up with Donkey Kong so that they can reach the planet core and use the Bonandium root to make their wishes come true. Gameplay-wise, Bonanza is somewhat similar to its 3D predecessor, Donkey Kong 64, but the game is much, much larger. The world is very open, and you can complete tasks in a very non-linear way. However, there'll be a main objective that you have to complete. By completing these objectives, you will advance further in the levels, or layers as they're called in-game. You can teleport to different areas of the layer or to different layers using the teleports, similar to the numbered pads in Donkey Kong 64. There are also specific areas where you'll need to find or earn bananas in a particular way, or take out some enemies in a short time period, much like Donkey Kong 64. However, unlike DK64, where Donkey Kong has a weapon, in Donkey Kong Bonanza, he is the weapon. The game makes use of voxels, as I mentioned earlier, having you punch, pound, smack, grab, surf, and throw various kinds of terrain and enemies that you encounter throughout the game. You can level entire layers searching for bananas and other collectibles such as fossils, which you can use as currency to buy cosmetic items, or Bonandium root pieces, which are treated as currency for everything else. Some layers will have entirely new terrain with special properties, such as giving you the ability to float upward, light dark areas, or dissolve chemicals. You'll also have areas of the level where you can pay to get a little rest and regain your health and chat with Pauline. Also, I know this character's name is Architect Tone, but my friends and I all just call him Homie. On top of this, Pauline grants many abilities, such as unlocking new areas and, most notably, Bonanza transformations. In certain levels, you'll complete a Bonanza where you learn transformations that will grant you special abilities. Kong Bananza makes DK bigger and grants him more strength and destructive power. Zebra Bonanza allows you more speed and better traction on slippery surfaces. Elephant Bonanza allows you to suck up materials with your trunk and throw different materials one after another. Snake Bonanza allows you the ability to jump higher and slow down time. And Ostrich Bonanza allows you the ability to fly and drop egg bombs. Excuse me, but ostriches can't fly. Well, snakes can't slow down time either, so shut up! I admit that initially I was a little nervous about what they were going to do with Donkey Kong Bonanza. I thought that the introduction of a Super Mario Bros. Character felt a little strange, the absence of the other Kongs as playable characters felt odd, and the omission of the Kremlings made me kind of sad. But then I actually played the game, and it knocked my socks off. For one, the actual mechanics are very satisfying. Being able to punch your way through a hill like a hot knife through butter feels great. It also allows for great player expression, allowing you to complete challenges in whatever way you like. Bonanza leaves a lot of room for adaptation in your playstyle. Additionally, there was always some new mechanic that was introduced to make the game more interesting. Just when you've mastered a new ability or a new terrain, they'll throw something new at you to keep you on your toes. The level designs are also great. I love the different kinds of terrain and ways to get around using it. I think my favorite layers were probably the luminescence layer and the feast layer. I love the luminescent rocks you have to use and the salt you use to dissolve slugs. The new character designs are also really great. I love Donkey Kong's big, expressive face, and the addition of Pauline seems fitting as a human companion. I loved hearing her dialogue with Donkey Kong while he's trying to sleep, just her little observations and comments. It reminded me a lot of that one episode of Rugrats where Tommy was staying over at Trucky's house. I also love the different characters that inhabit the different layers. For example, I really love the Fractones. They seem very much inspired by a lot of the mascots and side characters of Rareware's 3D platformers of the Nintendo 64 era. I also love the various species of monkeys, zebras, ostriches, elephants, and snakes that also inhabit the other layers. The music for this game is fantastic. A combination of original tunes along with classic DK tracks that turn out amazing. Jenny Kidd did a great job voicing Pauline, singing, humming, and scatting throughout the game. And some of the tracks are so layered with references that you can barely make out what they're referencing. And Voidco is okay. I think I'm used to DK fighting more physically imposing enemies rather than smaller ones that are in possession of immense power. I felt like Void Kong needed some underlings at his side other than Grumpy and Poppy. Moreover, I think that his last fight would have been a little bit more impactful if he used the Bananium powers to get really buff, or maybe have a giant mech or something much larger than he was naturally. I don't know. He's alright, but I think I would have liked him better if he was a little more insane and a little more physically imposing. Now, before I continue, I'm gonna get into spoiler territory. So, if you haven't played Bonanza and don't want to get spoiled, jump ahead to this time. I think I would have been a little bit disappointed if Voidco were the only enemies that you had to fight in the game. Luckily for me, that would not be the case. King of Kremlings makes a glorious return to form after a decade of radio silence. It was so great to see the Kremlings, Neki, Armadillo, and more back from the literal grave. All their original sound effects, which I must admit is quite funny most of the time. And not only do we get to fight K. Rool, we get to fight him 3 times. The final battle being a borderline Dark Souls fight in New Donk City. It's epic, if ever there were an appropriate time to use that word. But, that being said, I think most of all what I love about Bananza is the relationship between Donkey Kong and Pauline. How, in the beginning, Pauline was scared, alone, and nervous, unsure of herself. But Donkey Kong protects her, encourages her, makes her realize her own power, and builds her confidence. By the end of the game, she wants to sing for everyone to hear. I, too, was scared and nervous little apelet once upon a time. I was afraid to speak for fear of people making fun of the way I talk or how I sing. But then I met my friends, my people, who encouraged me in my passions and liked to hear me talk, liked to hear me sing. And, well, at risk of sounding very sappy, I want to thank one friend in particular because he's been on my mind when making this video. In fact, I would argue he's the reason this video exists, because he's a very good friend of mine and we bonded over Donkey Kong. We both love Donkey Kong and we both won't shut up about it and won't stop talking about it. The whole reason my name is Ape of the Hour is because of Donkey Kong. So, HibbySloth, if you're watching this video, I love you, buddy, and I thank you for all the support you've given me, and I hope we can never stop shutting up about Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Bananza really is a celebration of all Donkey Kong is, was, and could be. And it's amazing for me to think that all these years later, that Donkey Kong still has that effect on people, still has the ability to connect, still fights against the greedy and powerful evils that try to conquer this world, still empowers the scared and nervous. And to see that all on display in this game, it's fucking beautiful.
We're breaking through, right to the core.